It's a pleasure to come to you today with a big thank you smile for what you have done as a consumer. You have joined the movement on the subject of trust and better market experience. Over 40 categories, including public sectors, were voted for. And now, today, we are saying thank you. Without you, the consumer, there were no brands. Even though this idea is to celebrate brands and promote excellence in our marketplace, we are convinced that it is ultimately about you, a consumer. And as we journey towards the awards night, we want to start by sharing with you some of the new things that we were part of. In the last couple of days, we were privileged to attend a program put together by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and the Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency, Lascopa. The Fccpc and Lascopa program focused on an interesting aspect of our society, which is modern trade, talking about price tagging, return and refund, and labeling. What are the basic issues around price tagging? When you enter a supermarket, you find out sometimes that you have to walk from the shelf back to the checkout point or payment point to find out price. That legally is wrong. You also find out that labeling, for instance, are not clear. They are tiny information. Legally, that is not right. Legally also, the right to refund, return and refund after buying a product and you find out it did not meet or you find out there's a fault or something inside it, you go back for refund. These three topics made the center of the conversation at the last edition of the Fccpc and Lascopa interactive session that happened on the 29th of July at the Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry. As one of those that were privileged to be there to also contribute, I put up an argument saying that trust obligation is what this labeling is all about. Why am I establishing this? There's a difference between the modern trade and our local market. And I think that is one thing you need to look at. Compliance is not legal obligation. Compliance is a trust obligation. It is a trust obligation. So imagine you going into the market. You enter, for the sake of this exercise, one of the malls around us, and you decided to pick a product. And in picking the product, you realize that that product does not have price on it. That is to address the price tag. And because that is the product you want, you decided to go to the counter. And you got to the counter and realized that the price that has been given to you is different from the price you think you have in your head. And they gave you price eventually, and you decided to buy it at the price that you are not comfortable with. But your decision was that I have entered this mall, I won't go out empty-handed, I must bless myself by paying that price. Then the drama continues. You get into your house, settle down, you want to use the product, and you realize that there is no expiry date on it. Three things have happened to you. No price, no proper label, and then that decision comes into your head. I must go back to this mall to return it. And in returning it, you hear those very interesting, famous 4-letter words. We don't take return and we don't refund. Ladies and gentlemen, what has really happened here? Has consumer protection failed or has trust failed? An average consumer goes into the market primarily with 3 questions to be answered. Question 1, can I trust the price? Question 2, can I trust the product? Question 3, can I trust the seller if something goes wrong? It's not about label anymore.
is about trust. It's not about price anymore. It's about trust. However, speaking from consumer perspective, price tagging itself is price trust. Product labeling is product trust. Return and refund is relationship trust. And when we look at it from the perspective of the consumer, return and refund, consumers do not really expect perfection. We don't expect that there is perfection in the marketplace, but we expect fairness. And a business will earn loyalty not when nothing goes wrong, but when it responds to things appropriately. What am I simply saying here? Yes, things will always go wrong, but your response and your style of communication and your engagement is what makes the difference. And that's why I've decided on my own that this is beyond compliance. It is about trust. It is about attitude that we expect from our brands or the manufacturers or service providers. Why compliance really matters? Because non-compliance will give that consumer frustration. The same non-compliance will allow the consumer to complain, and then eventually we'll have a social media war, and there will be reputational damage and loss of trust and loss of customers. And the greatest penalty for non-compliance is not regulators' fine. The greatest penalty is a consumer's decision never to return to that brand. My conclusion will therefore be that every price is a promise. Every product label is a commitment. Every refund policy is a test of integrity. Consumers remember how brands make them feel long after they forget what they bought. Compliance, therefore, is not simply about obeying regulations. It is about earning trust, and trust remains the most valuable asset any brand can own.
Trust obligation is what this labeling is all about. The obligation of trust to the man selling, the woman selling, the shop owner. You are obliged to ensure that you build trust, because once somebody goes into your shop or into a supermarket and couldn't get proper information, which is what we are buying. We are buying information, we are buying products, and we want to find out the price of the product before we make decision. We want information on the product. So it is a trust obligation from my perspective. But I think you should hear what the GM of Lascopa, Mr. Afolabi Sholebo, said about this obligation.
Transparency in pricing is the bedrock of consumer confidence. Every consumer deserves to know the exact cost of a product before committing to purchase. To display goods without price tags or to charge prices inconsistent with those displayed is an unfair trade practice. It invites regulatory sanctions. Businesses must therefore install robust pricing systems, conduct regular compliance audits, and train staff to ensure that what is displayed is what is charged every time, without exceptions. Second, minimum labeling requirements. A label is not a decoration. It is a contract of information between the producer and the consumer. It must state product identity, ingredients, manufacturing and expiry dates, country of origin, usage instruction, and safe warnings. Accurate labeling empowers consumers to make informed choices and protect public health. Inadequate, false, or misleading labels violate the law. They can trigger product recalls, administrative penalties, and reputational damage that far exceed any cost of compliance. And thirdly, return and refund policies. I believe that most people will be interested in this.
According to him, it is also a legal obligation for you as a retailer to display appropriate information on the label, appropriate information on the price tag, and then when someone comes back to you to refund based on buying from you, you should accept it. Afolabi posted, and I agree with him legally, that every retail shop outlet has a legal obligation should ensure that they are well labeled for proper information to the consumer or the customer who is in that place to buy. In the same vein, Dr. Bumi Oti, the Fccpc head of the Lagos region, speaking on behalf of the EVC of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, put it across that it is essential and mandatory for every outlet, every mall, every supermarket to properly label, that is tag their product, label it appropriately, and at the same time take refund whenever it occurs.
Every Nigerian is a consumer, whether we are buying food for our families, paying for electricity, purchasing medicine, booking a flight, or ordering goods online, we all expect to receive fair value for our money. We expect businesses to deal with us honestly and transparently. These expectations are not unreasonable. They are recognized and protected by law. Yet, every day, the Commission receives complaints that show many consumers still face avoidable problems in the marketplace. Imagine a mother shopping in a market in Ikeja. She pick up a bag of rice only to discover at the checkout that the price is far higher than she expected. Because no price was displayed on the shelf, she is forced to make an unexpected decision after spending time shopping and often feels she has little choice but to pay. Think about a young man who buys a phone charger in Computer Village. There's nothing on the packaging to identify the manufacturer, confirm that it meets recognized safety standard, or even indicate power rating. A few weeks later, the charger damages his phone. He's left with a faulty product and no meaningful information about who should be held responsible.
After hearing all these things, we will ask you to also contribute your own thoughts by going to the comment section and sharing your opinion, and as well share your experience. This is important because it is all about the consumer, and our desire is that there is a better market experience for all of us every time we make efforts to go into the market to spend our hard-earned money. This is Brand Pulse Unplugged, and my name is Akonte Ikine. Once again, I say thank you for participating in the votes of the Consumers Value Award. Watch out.